What is antagonistic training for climbers? Well, you might notice that a lot of climbers tend to get really bad posture after a while, as well as being prone to tendon injuries. The reason for this horrible posture and injury potential is muscle imbalance. You see, when we climb, we mostly rely on our pulling muscles. They're the muscles that we use for exercises like pull-ups, and these include our lats, our biceps, and other muscles that are responsible for pulling something towards your body. But climbing barely uses your pushing muscles, which are your chest, your shoulders, and other muscles that work to push an object away from your body. This is what someone means when they say antagonistic training. You're training muscles that oppose the muscles of whatever sport you are doing. So for climbing, our antagonist muscles are those muscles that are not used when we climb. Now, I'm still a very new climber, but I've been strength training for a few years now, and I think that climbers have a few things to learn from the gym bros and vice versa. So here are some basic antagonistic exercises that you can do to prevent injury and bad posture. Start by stretching and getting your muscles activated like you would for any physical activity. The first exercise is an absolute classic, the bench press. For this one, you're going to need a bench, a bar, some weight, and preferably a rack of some kind, though you could fashion something else. Lie down on the bench, firmly plant your legs into the ground. Make sure that both your shoulders and your lower back are touching the bench. Grip the bar firmly. Start a little wider than your shoulders and figure out from there what works best for you. Generally, the wider you go, the more emphasis you will put on the chest. Lift the bar from the rack and bring it down to your lower chest. Breathe out and firmly press up. Control the weight on the way down and explode on the way up. Make sure that you exhale on the hard part of the exercise and inhale on the easy part of the exercise. Pay attention to the path of the barbell. It moves ever so slightly forward as it moves down. This is called the J shape. For most of these exercises, you should be somewhere between the 8 and 12 rep range. Go to within 1 or 2 reps of your max on every single set, and go to failure on your last set. The baseline number is 3 to 4 sets of every exercise. The next exercise is another classic. This one is called the overhead barbell press, military press, whatever you want to call it. The point is, grab a barbell, set it at chest height. Stand with your feet slightly wider than your hips. Lift it up to your chest, get a firm stance, and press up. These two exercises do a great job of covering pretty much every single major pushing muscle in your body, but I also like to throw in incline bench press and some kind of isolation tricep exercise. Ultimately, what you do is up to you. There's tons of exercises you can look up out there. Now let's move on to the forearms, perhaps the pride and joy of every single climber. When we climb, we mostly work our wrist and finger flexor muscles, which are responsible for the supination of our forearm. To balance that out, here are some exercises that work the extensors of your wrist and forearm that are responsible for the pronation, meaning straightening out of your wrist, and the extension of your fingers. Grab a light dumbbell, sit yourself on a bench, support your working forearm with your other arm, and do what's called a reverse wrist curl. Make sure that your wrist is not twisting during this exercise, and make sure that you're using a weight that's not too heavy and that you're fully controlling it. This is one of the most important exercises on this list, and it's also one that's very often skipped. But this is the one that's going to help prevent that nasty elbow pain that you get called tennis elbow or golfer's elbow. Now let's train those finger extensors. This one's also really important. There's a bunch of ways to do this exercise. There's even special machines for it, but the most classic way is called the rubber band method. Simply put a rubber band on your fingers and extend. This exercise is also great for rehabilitation after an injury. This isn't something that I typically do at the end of my antagonistic training. Rather, this is just something I do multiple times throughout the week. But find what works for you. This is what this whole video is about. Just make sure that you get that training in. Hopefully this video inspired you, or maybe you learned something new.